Eclipse podcast where we bring you the latest in gaming news, indie reviews, and everything else under the sun. My name is Kendall, and I'm here with my two co-hosts, Carl. Say what's up to the people, brother.
What's up to the people, brother? I
I
follow instructions good.
I was actually gonna make a joke about you not saying what I said, and then you beat me to the punch. So good job, bro. And then we got James here, man. James, say boop bop shmibbeep.
I actually want to say boo boo beep boop bop.
I'm furious. You can't just the most simple instructions in the world, bro. It's crazy. It's just you got the scatting freestyling and shit. It's crazy. This is not the type of content we make here, guys. I promise. Stick around a little bit because we are back here for another episode of Eclipse Theory Games. We are finishing up, or at least attempting to finish up our console rankings. Man, we're back for part 2 of that long, arduous task. We got up to what PS1-ish last time. So had to bring the homies back. Everybody's rankings have been like tallied up so far, so I will eventually go through and give you the full rankings. But I want to wait to the end till we have all the rankings so we can kind of see how everybody's lists stack up. But yeah, you guys kind of got a few consoles that you got left on your list. It's only a couple of them that's like different between the two of you. So I will actually start with one of those. We can jump straight into it. Well, just to give you guys, as the audience, a preface to what we're doing. What I'm going to do is go through each console that these guys have not ranked yet, because we've done our whole console retrospective series. They're going to give us their quick rankings of like all the aspects that we rank here at Eclipse Theory, and then I'll keep a tally. And at the end, hopefully, once we finally end this, I'll give you like their full console tier list, like every console in order, how they rank up. So to start off, I want to start with you, Carl, put you on the hot seat, because you never gave us your N64 rankings.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, you weren't on that episode. And I know you kind of dug, and I know it's a weird console, but you're not ducking this one, man. You're going to have to give us a... So
First of all, N64 is an amazing console. First of all, I want to start off with that.
It is, absolutely. And before you get started, I'm going to just to give them the tier list of what we do. We go console, controller, games, graphics, and then overall impact. Those are the 5 categories that we rate out of 10, and then we add that up. So yeah, give us your thoughts on the N64 and your rankings.
Okay. I'll just make a quick note so I make sure I got all the orders and get all the basics. So first thing is check off the console itself.
Yes,
so
sir.
The N64 was, I'm not sure if it was stubborn. I'm gonna say it was stubborn because at this time everyone was moving the disc. And N64 says, I see your disc, but I'm sticking with a cartridge.
Yeah, they sure did.
which, as I was little, it was cool. I had cartridges, because on my PS1, I would scratch the disc and I would break it up. So, as a kid, it was a good thing, but when you look back as an adult, like the cartridge was just so inadequate compared to this when it came to spaces. The N64 needed an expansion pack for Donkey Kong 64 and Majora's Mask because it was on cartridge.
Hey, do you want to guess what 2 games I got on Christmas for my N64 with no expansion pack when all the stores was closed, Carl? It was you guessed them already. Good job. You did it before I asked. That's
crazy. So with that being said, the console has to get some negative points for its stubbornness.
Yeah.
So the console itself, I'm gonna give it a 7.
Okay.
Because of its unwillingness to change. Now, the flip side is, I think they had an amazing controller. It was so weirdly designed and odd, but so fantastic at the same time. They had the 3 little handles and the joystick perfectly in the middle. And it was the introduction of the C buttons that were like up, left, right, down, which is cool. And then with the Z button on the back, it was just like a good trigger when you play like Perfect Dark or 007 GoldenEye. And I feel like they took the back part where you could put your Rumble Pack, and also if you had Pokemon Stadium, you had the Game Boy expansions on there. That controller was goated. Controller for 64 is a 10.
Okay.
It was comfy. It had it was a design that's no one ever seen before, and it had features you can do with it.
Man, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but I've never heard nobody mention the thing on the back where you can slot stuff in, like to the controller. Like,
oh man, I beat Pokemon Yellow on the TV using the 64 pack.
That's awesome, and add like the border around it with all the Pokemon. Yeah, okay,
Yep.
okay, I'm not mad at that.
For games, N64 has some goated games. I just want to talk about a game that probably doesn't get a lot of recognition. I'm a huge Jet Force Gemini fan.
Mm.
Jet Force Gemini was the game for me. Like it was amazing, and I feel like it was one of the rare secret gems that don't get talked about enough. And like, do I even got to talk about the Zelda series, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, like they Mario 64, Banjo? Because the list goes on and on and on. Their library was stacked. It was stacked. I'm gonna give their library a 9 because, like I said,
But
it was a stacked library. Then they had some lemons in there. Don't get me wrong, and they had some games that didn't play as well as other consoles. Like Mega Man Legends on the 64 was not as good as Mega Man Legends on PS2, PS1. It's just it is what it is.
yeah,
It's probably because it didn't have a disc.
the
But
cartridges. Yeah.
graphics, now this is where we're going to fall down some because the graphics before weren't the best because
Again.
they're on a cartridge.
Yeah.
So graphics wise, comparing to the polygons are polygons, but you can tell like Mario looks a lot more blocky than some other characters did on some other systems.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give the graphics on 64 a good. I'm debating between a 7 or 8. I'm gonna give it a 7.
Okay.
Impact. Impact was huge for N64 for some of the things I did because this is not really. It's more for Nintendo in general because Nintendo is known for doing the wild and crazy. Like I said, the expansion pack thing was like a cool idea to try to pick up some of the shortcomings of it. The extra expansions that go on the controller, the roll pack, the microphone for like some Pokemon games had a microphone you could talk to. I forgot what game it was, but it was a lot of cool stuff that you could put on the back of that little
That
thing.
was
Camera.
that was Hey You Pikachu, sir.
That's
what
what it
game that
was. Yeah.
was.
Hey, you Pikachu in
Yeah.
it. There was a lot of good stuff on there. Like that, and the controller was comfy. Like it, and it stood up against PS1 and even when against Dreamcast on a cartridge base, and it did very well. So as for Impact, I'm gonna give it an 8.
Well, nice. Okay, so I've been tallying up your scores as we go. That's why I'm kind of like all over the place. But just to recap everything you just went through, you gave the console itself a 7, which I think is pretty fair. Controller a 10, which is interesting. Actually, you made some points. I think it's the craziest controller designed for monkeys with 3 arms, but it works, you know.
It's
Um,
fantastic.
it really is for like no reason. It really shouldn't be, but it is. You gave games library a 9. You know, I'm not mad at that. 7 for graphics, which again, fair. You know, I think that fits with the time. And then Impact, you gave them 8 for a total of 41, which puts the N64 on your list, Carl. Right under the Genesis, second to last. So far, anyways. That was so far. But that's the problem with going as we go and like tallying them up because like it's a genuine list of where you put them so far.
I mean, both were good consoles.
Yep, be like that, man. I got some things that I would change if I was making my list like by hand. But that brings us to one that actually you both have to do. So we're gonna start with James since we just got Carl to give his. And that will be a very interesting console. This is one of my favorite episodes we did actually with me and Tony, the Dreamcast. I got to get you guys' full rankings of that one. Yeah, Carl, you're going to talk at length, so you're going second, buddy. You gotta wait. Gather your thoughts because I know you have thoughts. You better give us honestly. When you said that stuff about the slot for the N64 controller, it was like that's kind of like a predecessor for what the Dreamcast did, low key.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let me stop stepping on you guys' toes. James, give us your rankings and your thoughts on the Dreamcast. Like, how you feel about it?
I mean, I guess like I said, console. I'll give the Dreamcast 8.5 for the console itself. It was a white box, it's cool, nothing, it was there.
Yeah.
So I get 8.5. Controller, like 10. I have to give the Dreamcast controller a 10. I have to give like the controller, like I said, for its time was just something just crazy. Like I still just remember you could play like Chio like just in the memory card. Like the memory card was like its own separate game system. Like it was a Game Boy, really.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
the controller felt good in your hand. Like it just Yeah, I have to give that controller a 10. Like
I'm not mad.
um for games, this is really weird.
Yeah.
it, I'm gonna go a 8 because it
Hmm.
had some really strong games. You know, you had your Sonics. I mean, my favorite game of all time will always be Power Stone. Like just everything. But
Mm.
it had some not so good games too, or some like ones that were just like, I'm okay. So I think I'm gonna have to go 8, just for games. Um, Impact is a weird one too, because I think the issue with the Dreamcast, it was made too far ahead of its time. Um, and
I
I
agree.
think also it was Sega's last system. Like they like after that, like Sega was gone after that. It was no more. So I have to give if I have to probably give it a 7.5 only because the impact of it was the loss of Sega's company. Like it was it. Like they was done. But I felt like if this system came out like a little bit later, like it would have been bigger. I think they could have been able to capitalize on it. I think at that time frame, like we wasn't ready for that system, like
Yeah.
at that time. Like that system could do a lot of things that we never even tapped in or even thought about it actually doing. I
Mm.
just think it just came out at the wrong time.
Agreed. Agreed. And don't forget graphics. That's the last
Graphics on Dreamcast actually was I'll give it an 8.5.
one.
Uh,
Okay.
I'll give it an 8.5. Like I said, like I just remember playing Power Stone. It just like yeah, I'll give it 8.
I can agree with that. And I think those are some interesting takes about the capabilities of the console. It kind of reminds me of like the Xbox One with like trying to always be online so you can use your games anywhere. How we weren't ready for that in 2014, but now it might hit different. But they kind of did it too early. Like I think it's the same type of vibes.
We had I think we had dial up still at that time. Like we could do that. We could
Yeah,
do
like
that.
we weren't quite there, you know.
Yeah.
But so I do have your tallied up rankings and everything, but I'm gonna do it after the we get Carl's so I can kind of
Okay.
compare you guys. So Carl, give us your thoughts on the Dreamcast.
All right, so there's a lot that I agree with Lyles and a lot that I did agree with. The one thing I did agree with is the console itself. Yeah, it's a square rectangle box.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's nothing too fancy about it, and it got dingy with it. A fun fact that actually
Mm,
you guys should know is my brother. What he did was he had a Dreamcast because at some point Dreamcast got so cheap you could get him like $50 because how bad it was like not doing well.
right.
He had actually bought a Dreamcast and like put a 5 next to the little symbol to make '05 and took it to school, had people sign on it.
That's awesome.
So that's something he did. But
Turned it into a yearbook. Like
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much,
that's
yeah.
normal.
It's pretty much what he did,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
But
Straight up.
the console, like I said, it's a box. It had 4 ports and it had an Ethernet jack, which we're going to talk to a little later. But like I said, nothing too fancy about the design. The biggest thing came out was on the controller and the VMU, which I'm going to talk about ad nauseum on my next was the controller section. But for the console, it's a 7. Itself, it's nothing. It's sturdy. It's a sturdy
Yeah.
brick. Now controller. If I can give it 100 or a 12 or 11, I would, but I can't. So I gotta stay within the confines of our ranking system. But when I say they have the best controller, they set the new standard for the controller. Just look at Xbox.
They straight
Their
up
whole
had the Xbox.
design,
Yep.
they stole their design.
Yep.
Especially the original Xbox, where it
That
had
fat one.
the fact with the VMU slot still, yeah, the controller's a 10. Like, and just to go into the VMU itself, it was a mini Game Boy, and like you could take two VMUs together and plug them together and do little head-to-head games with people. If
Hmm.
I didn't know that, it's an A/B button, and then like also every time you play the game, I would always look down the VMU slot because something would go on that little screen. That would distract
Mhm.
me, and I end up dying in the actual game, so I'm focusing on the VMU stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just the VMU was way ahead of its time, and we never got anything like it again. And to go on that beautiful controller, the controller is a 10, and there's no need to just keep like blowing his own whistle because like it was an amazing controller. Like other attachments. Now I'm gonna get to the game. I'm gonna talk about those controller attachments because just like the N64, um, the Dreamcast saw what Nintendo did and said, okay, let's try that too. So they start getting extra attachments like cameras and microphones that you can put in the VMU slots as well. Which brings
Hmm.
me to some of the creative games. Seaman. I always
Yeah,
talk about Seaman every time about the Dreamcast. I've never in my
absolutely.
life witnessed it anything. That was like AI before AI was even a thing. That little rude ass, mean ass fish would just talk shit to you, make fun of your voice, and like with better accuracy than some of the things nowadays, like Siri or Google Assistant. Sometimes I'm talking to Google Assistant, they get all my shit wrong.
That's
How does
facts.
my fucking Seaman in the 90s understand me better than the fucking phone does now?
Yeah,
But not saying Seaman was the best game, but Seaman was an interesting game. And
I
now,
feel it.
if I'm talking about the good games, you got Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2 Battles, you got your Fantasy Star Online, your Grandia 2, your Skies of Arcadia, your
Hmm.
Carriers, your Blue Stingers. I had a lot of Dreamcast games. I ain't talking about Power Stone or Marvel's Capcom 2 yet.
Yep.
Like the Dreamcast library was goaded. Now I'm torn because some of the other games I get named, like Marvel's Capcom 2, weren't exclusive to the Dreamcast. You can get them on other systems.
Hmm.
So I do take away points for that. It was available on other stuff. So based on just exclusivity alone, so I'm not including any of the NBA games. I'm gonna give the library. Oh, and Code Veronica versus Evil. I am gonna give the library an 8,
Okay.
similar to what Laos did, because if you take away the third parties and just focus on the exclusive games, they had some bangers like Space Channel 5, little things like that. But I don't think it was enough to really put it apart as some of the other games consoles we talked about.
Hmm.
Graphics were really good on Dreamcast, especially for its time. I'm missing about Space Channel 5. Space Channel 5 was really fun to look at. Watching a little dancing lady like do a little thing and cool graphics.
Yep.
Jet Set Radio was like fucking amazing. It's
Yeah.
one of the best graphical games on the Dreamcast.
Straight up.
So I'm gonna give their graphics a 9. And now we're on a tricky one. Impact. Yes, the console failed, but due to its failure, everybody took what it did and just put it on their shit, and it was success. So if my failure causes your product to be successful, you can't say my impact is low. I mean, Dreamcast had a freaking keyboard, a whole computer keyboard as an attachment. I know this because my brother has it at his house.
Mm.
Like you could literally
That's
surf
awesome.
the web. It had a web browser on it. And
Yeah.
but like I said, it was on fucking dial-up internet.
Yep.
And you gonna sacrifice your phone line to fucking type on your keyboard? No, it wasn't happening. If Dreamcast had came out a little bit later,
Yep.
it would have been cooking. So
Skyrocket.
like impact for Dreamcast is a 9 because yes, it failed, but people saw like, oh, I smell what you cooking. Let me grab that. And then everybody grabbed a little piece. Xbox grabbed the controller. Sony grabbed like the online interfaces with it's just it it was best. Like so that's how I feel the Dreamcast is underappreciated,
Man,
greatly underappreciated.
I I wish y'all were on the original episode because, like I said, that was one of my favorite episodes that we did, and it was because of these exact conversations, like the points that y'all both made. Because like my ranking fell closer to James' logic about impact because I had like a 7 or something, where I was like, it would have been low because it failed, like James said, but it was higher than it would have been because of what you said. Like I feel both of your arguments. And I think a good example is the fact that like you said, your brother turned it into a yearbook. It's such a touch. It's like having like a monument of like 2000 and like early 2000s. You know what I mean? Like that's such
Mm-hmm.
a staple of that time period. So I feel that. I really appreciate those ratings. So now it's time to tally up everybody's scores and give y'all where y'all Dreamcast ranking lies. James, just to recap, you had 8.5 for the console, 10 for the controller, and 8 for the games, 8.5 for graphics, and a 7.5 for impact. So that's 42.5. And just like Carl with the N64, that's second to last for you. Right underneath PS1, so that's fair. I think you don't have that many consoles, and a lot of them are bangers, so makes sense. Um, and then Carl, yours were a 7 for the console, a 10 for the controller, 8 for the games, 9 for graphics, and a 9 for impact, bringing you to 43, which actually ties you with the PS1, like right in like third place. So it's tied for third for you. Uh, which, tied for third is not that far from like third from last. Like these are small
Yeah.
lists. But moving right along, let's see. I think we have another one that you both need to do. Yeah, I think there's two more that you guys each didn't, you weren't on the episodes of, so we'll get to those. Um, but the next one is actually Xbox. And for this one, I guess we can double back and just kind of snake order it. Carl, if you want to start, we can get your thoughts on the Xbox.
Okay, first thought Xbox, the console design was like horrendous. I hated it. It was massive.
But it was an
It,
Xbox.
it
Come on, man.
was too goddamn big.
It was huge.
That took all the space on the shelf, all the space on the dresser, the chest, whatever you put you had no more space left.
Thanks.
It was big as all get out. And there was nothing special about it. It was a black box with an X on it, and it had two buttons on the front, the eject button and the power button.
Hmm.
And that was it. It was this big for no reason. Like, why are you this big? If the disc is this size, why do you need to be this big? And don't even start with your fat ass power bricks.
Bro, that was where they held all the orange goop from the logo. Like it was in the rest of the console. Like
that shit is getting a 5 because I was annoyed on the mere size of that monstrosity. I'm sorry. Can you imagine me, a child, trying to transfer this fat ass unit to my friend's house so we can play Blinks?
Bro, putting it in your backpack, you got scoliosis. A lot of us got back problems now.
I had to get a duffel bag. It wouldn't fit in my backpack.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, now that I'm off that part, controller. It was a worse Dreamcast controller because they made it extra fat for Shaq. Like you had to have Shaq-sized hands to fully enjoy that damn controller. They later on, no, they never did. I had to get the third-party controllers because they made them smaller. That fit your hand better.
I think they actually redesigned them on those spots from the Duke controller to like a slimmer version. Yeah, I think they did.
I probably didn't get it now. It's probably too so focused on the third party ones because that shit turned me off. I was like, oh, Dreamcast, it's cool, but then my little baby hands couldn't reach the black and white buttons that were so oddly placed. They're like, what the black and white was down on the corner, like where the handle is,
like past the hand, like the buttons, the face buttons.
Yeah, it was just such a weird placement for buttons. The design was cool. They said, how can we make Dreamcast but make it worse? Let's make it fat and put extra buttons that are hard for people with smaller hands to use. Damn. So the controller gets a 7 for being a worse Dreamcast controller. Like I said, it still had Dreamcast powers, so it gets points, but then it loses 3 for being ugly and stupid. All right, games. Now we're on the fun part. Games. Xbox has some good games on it. You had your Max Payne's on there. You had your Blinks the Cat. You had this one. I probably really obscure, but it was like this arcade style game, with your party game. You got like a little ball. It's like Frenzy, something like that.
Fusion Frenzy.
Yeah, that one. Fusion Frenzy.
Yeah.
And
people love Fusion Frenzy.
Yeah, it was fun. Fusion Frenzy was good. So that has some Halo. Halo alone is what kept them alive. So and I don't think Gears was on the first Xbox. I think it came on Xbox 360.
Yeah.
But I think they had what else was on Xbox? The fact that I'm having trouble remembering some of the exclusives. Toy Commander. That was Dreamcast. Toy Commander. I think they remade it for the Xbox though. Toy Commander is a little game when you play as a child's toy and you go to war.
I do remember those actually. I think.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun game. It had worms on there as well. Like I say, but for the games, I guess I'm taking longer than I need to. For the games for the Xbox, I'm gonna give them about a 7. There was nothing too spectacular on there, but it had some good bangers like Halo. Like the major exclusives were good, but the ones if Microsoft didn't really back it, they kind of just fell through the cracks a little bit. And I don't like to count the third party games like Madden and whatnot because you can get them on other systems. It's not really helping the console itself sell its unit.
Okay.
Graphics. Now, surprisingly, the graphics for the Xbox are really good. Well, actually, not surprisingly. Microsoft makes computers, so I'm pretty sure they should have really good graphics. Graphics, I'm gonna give them a 9. It's Xbox had good graphics. I feel like some of those graphics still help today. If I go play an Xbox game, I'm not going, ugh, what is this? It's I can watch it and I can play it. And, yeah, it's fine. So 9 for graphics. Impact. This is a tricky one. I'm giving it an 8 because this was Microsoft's first console, and they saw that, oh man, Sega's out, so now we can be the new RC Cola. So
Okay.
they worm their way in to be the new RC Cola, and then they end up being like bigger than RC Cola. Does that make sense? Because RC Cola is a valid soda option, but no one goes to the store saying, "Let me get that RC Cola."
Right.
But now, if you look at Microsoft, they're one of the premiers now. I can't
Yep.
consider them RC Cola no more. And it all started with this one ugly ass, too heavy duffel bag ass system they did
Facts.
that was good enough to like jump in where Dreamcast failed. So Impact's an 8.
Okay. I mean, you made some arguments. There was so much. We are kind of running low on time, and I want to comment, but I'm gonna go ahead and let your ranking stand. But yeah, I think you made some points for sure. In the interest of saving time, James, give us your Xbox rankings, and then I'll give you guys the recaps.
System 7. I agree with Carl. It was a fat ass system, and that shit was loud as shit. I give it a 7. It looked like a Joker weapon. Like I felt like Joker will pop up when you like smack you in the head with it. Like yeah.
Jesus Christ, the Xbox work session was unexpected.
Controller 7. It was a big ass fucking controller. That controller was huge for no reason whatsoever. And I was a kid, and I was a small kid, so that didn't do me any favors. Graphics, I'll give graphics a 8.5. I think this is when graphics started to get better. Graphics were definitely moving up, so I'll give it 8.5. Games, I'll give games a 9. The reason why I did that is because I mean Halo is one of my favorite games of all time. But you also have like Ninja Gaiden. You had Splinter Cell. You had Fable.
Yes.
You had Star Wars of the Old Republic. Like, you know how like big that game was? Like those games were like huge during that time frame. But like, oh, then you had Jet Set Radio Future. They took the old one and redid it and remade it. But like Ninja Gaiden, like that hard ass fucking game was just it was amazing. But like Halo 2 was like I played Halo 2, like it was going on, but like I said, like Fable, like that game was like huge, like for Xbox. So I have to give the games a 9 for myself. Impact, I'll recall. I'll give it like an 8. I think it was their first system, and I think they were like working out all the kinks. And I felt like this is what made 360. And for me, the 360 was my premium choice of system. Like that's the system that I had first. So like I felt like this was the one that like started it, and now you have that. Now you have the one. Now you have all the systems now. But it started with this big box Joker weapon of a system.
It does look like you could put a stick on it and it'd be like a mallet. I'll
Like
give you that.
I can see him beating Batman over the head with this system.
It's not that far. It's not that far from my mind. Sorry, you said 7 for Impact, right? Or
8.
8. Okay, sorry. Okay, cool.
I want to make a quick addendum to my list right fast because Lars brought a really good point with some of the games he named. I originally gave it a 7. I'm going to bump that up to an 8 because of the games like Ninja Gaiden, like you mentioned.
Okay.
And I forgot to even touch on Xbox Live. Like,
yeah.
That was a major one. So, and Xbox Halo, like John and I would just play Halo online like all day. Like Halo 2 online, like that was the thing. Big team battle Halo 2. So I'm gonna bump it up to an 8 for me for games.
Yeah, but I tell you,
Okay.
you know how many people want them to make a Old Republic like and make it like that? Like people will go crazy.
Yeah. I can't argue with you. Okay. Interesting. All right, so let me tally you guys the scores up one more time. To recap on James's end. So you gave the console itself a 7. You gave the controller a 7 as well. Games, you gave it an 8.5. Graphics a 9, which I agree with. And then I don't know what I gave the ranking. Don't check me on that. I agree with. But and then Impact, you gave it an 8. And that puts you at a 39.5 for Xbox, which actually ties it with the PS3, right at the bottom of your list. So interesting. Okay. And for Carl's list, sorry, you changed some stuff, so now I gotta do math again.
I changed
I,
1 point. 7 to
yes,
an 8.
but I actually mixed you guys' scores up, and I want to make sure I didn't like mix up any numbers, so I had to re-add. Stop questioning my math, all right? Addition is hard. So, Carl, you gave the console itself a 5, the controller a 7. You gave the games an 8, the graphics a 9 as well, and then you gave Impact an 8, which brings your score to 37. And that actually puts Xbox right at the bottom for you as well. So, okay. I mean, honestly, I feel like these rankings are interesting because we're saying a lot of complimentary things, but like they might find themselves at the bottom because, like I said, there's like a lot of banger consoles up there on these rankings. But we're starting to see like where things fall together. I'm appreciating how y'all's lists are falling, and I kind of want to like average up everybody's scores when we come back because we got to do a part 3. We're actually damn near out of time, but part 3 will be the last one. We're gonna finish up with like the more current consoles, like finish up this generation and jump into 360. Just a real quick before we finish, do you guys, because right now you both have PS2 at the top, and Super Nintendo for James is tied, and for Carl's second. Do y'all think it will stay that way? I mean, don't throw out what you think might be. Well, you can, but do y'all think it will stay that way for you guys?
I do for PS2, especially because in my mind, PS2 is one of the greatest consoles that ever came out. Like they were still selling PS2s when PS4 was around.
Facts.
So,
Yeah,
I
people
mean,
were mad.
I mean, I think the only thing that would knock the PS2 for me might be the 4.
Mm.
And that's only because the games and everything like that. It's just
When you start
they
tallying
were
up,
just they were just
yeah,
on different playing fields. But like I said, like the library of 2 is like ridiculous.
mm.
Like it is but the games on 4 is just
Yeah.
I mean
It's gonna
like
be man, it's gonna
yeah,
be
like
very interesting. Like,
you start getting into like infamous and different things. Like I like it's just it's on different levels. So it's
yeah,
it's
I
never
agree.
forget. My uncle actually stole my PS2, so that should let you know how fun it was.
Yeah, yeah, it was a whole thing. And shout out to PlayStation for just always cornering the new format. Like they had CDs with PS1, DVDs with PS2. That's why a lot of us had PS2s for a cheap DVD player. To be clear, if y'all don't remember, that's like why your mother wanted a PS2 in the house.
oh GameCube might give it a run for its money too. That was
That's
like
yeah,
my
okay.
favorite system of all time.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool because these rankings tend to be like real like objective. Like we just give a number for a category without thinking of the overall score. So things just kind of fall where they fall. So I really can't wait to see how everything tallies up. Sorry we weren't able to finish things up today, but we got quite a few consoles here and we trying to make this a real comprehensive list. But let us know what you guys think is going to end up like number one overall after like we average out all the scores. Because we'll get Eclipse Theory's full ranking of consoles. Definitely leave us a comment below, man. Like and subscribe if you like the content because we want to make sure we're making this a good series for you guys and a great podcast. But I'm gonna go ahead and bring this one to a close. Until next time, man, I'm Kendall. This has been James and Carl, and make sure you guys keep gambling.